If you have $0 saved at 40, here's the exact wealth blueprint that actually works. Timeless investing lessons. Part 1, Hook midnight to 10 o'clock. Imagine waking up one morning. You're 40 years old. Maybe 45. Maybe even 50. You check your bank account. There isn't much there. Retirement suddenly doesn't feel like a distant dream anymore. It feels like a deadline. Every headline tells you the same thing. Inflation is rising. Living costs are increasing. Healthcare is becoming more expensive. Housing prices seem impossible. And every financial expert keeps repeating one sentence. You should have started investing 20 years ago. At first, that sentence feels like a punch in the stomach. Because you didn't. Maybe life happened. You were raising children. Paying rent. Taking care of your parents. Building a business that failed. Working paycheck to paycheck. Or maybe nobody ever taught you how money actually works. Whatever your reason. You're here now. And here's the truth almost nobody tells you. Being late does not mean you're finished. It simply means your strategy has to become smarter. Warren Buffett once said, "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now." That single sentence has inspired millions of people around the world. Because wealth isn't created by perfect timing. It's created by consistent decisions. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how someone starting with almost nothing can still build meaningful wealth. Not through lottery tickets. Not through crypto hype. Not through gambling on meme stocks. But through timeless investing principles that have survived wars, financial crashes, recessions, and nearly every economic disaster in modern history. These are principles followed by one of history's greatest investors. And more importantly, they're simple enough that almost anyone can apply them. Stay with me until the end. Because the final lesson is the exact mindset shift that separates people who stay broke forever from people who quietly become millionaires. Let's begin. Most people think money problems are caused by low income. That's only partly true. The real problem is something much more dangerous. Financial habits. Imagine two people earning exactly the same salary. Both make $60,000 a year. 20 years later, one has $1 million portfolio. The other has credit card debt. What happened? Was one person luckier? Not necessarily. The difference was made by thousands of tiny financial decisions. One bought liabilities. The other bought assets. One consumed. The other invested. One chased status. The other chased freedom. Warren Buffett often reminds investors that wealth grows quietly. It doesn't happen overnight. It compounds. Think about that word. Compound. Albert Einstein reportedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether or not he actually said it, the idea remains powerful. Imagine rolling a snowball down a snowy hill. At first, it barely grows. Almost nothing changes. But as it gets larger, it begins collecting more snow. Soon, the growth becomes impossible to ignore. Money behaves exactly the same way. Your first $10,000 feels painfully slow. Your next $100,000 arrives much faster. Eventually, your investments begin earning more money than your job. That is the turning point almost everyone dreams about. But very few people stay patient long enough to reach it. Patience may be the rarest financial skill in today's world. We live in an age where everyone wants instant success. Instant profits. Instant followers. Instant businesses. Instant millionaires. Social media constantly shows young entrepreneurs buying luxury cars, private jets, expensive watches, massive mansions. But here's something worth remembering. Most truly wealthy people don't look rich. They look ordinary. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he purchased decades ago. Think about that. One of the richest people on earth. Could buy almost any home in the world. Yet he chooses simplicity. Because wealthy people understand something consumers often forget. Looking rich and becoming rich are completely different goals. One costs money. The other builds money. Never confuse the two. Now imagine this. Two neighbors receive the exact same bonus. $5,000. The first buys a luxury vacation. Designer clothes. A new television. The money disappears within weeks. The second neighbor invests the same amount into diversified index funds. Then repeats the process every year. 30 years later. The vacation is just a memory. But the investments may have grown into hundreds of thousands of dollars. The difference wasn't intelligence. The difference was delayed gratification. One of Buffett's greatest strengths has never been predicting markets. It has been controlling emotions. That's something every investor can learn. Markets rise. Markets fall. News channels panic. People sell. Then markets recover. This cycle has repeated itself for generations. Every crash creates fear. Every recovery creates opportunity. And every generation believes. This time is different. Yet history keeps repeating itself. That's why Buffett once gave one of his most famous rules. Rule number 1. Never lose money. Rule number 2. Never forget rule number 1. Many people misunderstand this quote. It doesn't mean you'll never see your investments decline. It means avoiding permanent losses caused by emotional decisions. Selling during panic. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he purchased decades ago. Think about that. One of the richest people on earth. Could buy almost any home in the world. Yet he chooses simplicity. Because wealthy people understand something consumers often forget. Looking rich and becoming rich are completely different goals. One costs money. The other builds money. Never confuse the two. Now imagine this. Two neighbors receive the exact same bonus. $5,000. The first buys a luxury vacation. Designer clothes. A new television. The money disappears within weeks. The second neighbor invests the same amount into diversified index funds. Then repeats the process every year. 30 years later. The vacation is just a memory. But the investments may have grown into hundreds of thousands of dollars. The difference wasn't intelligence. The difference was delayed gratification. One of Buffett's greatest strengths has never been predicting markets. It has been controlling emotions. That's something every investor can learn. Markets rise. Markets fall. News channels panic. People sell. Then markets recover. This cycle has repeated itself for generations. Every crash creates fear. Every recovery creates opportunity. And every generation believes. This time is different. Yet history keeps repeating itself. That's why Buffett once gave one of his most famous rules. Rule number 1. Never lose money. Rule number 2. Never forget rule number 1. Many people misunderstand this quote. It doesn't mean you'll never see your investments decline. It means avoiding permanent losses caused by emotional decisions. Selling during panic. Buying during hype. Following the crowd. These are the real wealth destroyers. Not temporary market declines. The stock market has survived world wars. Oil crises. Financial collapses. Global pandemics. Political uncertainty. Yet over long periods, it has continued moving upward. Not in a straight line, but upward. That is why successful investors think differently. They don't ask, "What's happening today?" They ask, "Where will I probably be 20 years from now?" That single question changes everything. If you're starting at 40, you don't need perfection. You need discipline. You don't need genius. You need consistency. You don't need to predict tomorrow. You need to prepare for the next 20 years. And that's exactly what we're going to build together. Because in the next section, you'll discover the biggest financial mistake millions of people make every single payday, without even realizing it. And fixing that one habit alone can completely change your financial future. Part 2, The Paycheck Blueprint, 10 to 20 hours. Let's begin with a simple question. What happens to your paycheck the moment it reaches your bank account? For most people, the answer is painfully predictable. Bills, rent, groceries, subscriptions, car payments, credit cards, a few online purchases that seemed harmless, a dinner out, coffee every morning. Then, at the end of the month, whatever is left becomes savings. Unfortunately, for millions of people, nothing is left. And year after year, the cycle repeats itself. The paycheck arrives. The paycheck disappears. Life goes on. If this sounds familiar, you're far from alone. But here's what separates financially successful people from everyone else. They reverse the order. Instead of spending first and saving what's left, they save first and spend what's left. That single shift changes everything. Warren Buffett once said, "Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving." At first glance, it sounds almost too simple. But don't underestimate simple ideas. Simple habits, repeated for decades, create extraordinary outcomes. Imagine earning $4,000 each month. Instead of waiting until the end of the month to save, you automatically invest 20% the moment your paycheck arrives. You never see that money sitting in your checking account. You don't feel tempted to spend it. It quietly begins working for you. Month after month. Year after year. This is called paying yourself first. And it's one of the most powerful financial habits ever created. Now here's something most people never think about. Every dollar you spend has a hidden cost. Let's say you buy a $100 pair of shoes. Most people believe those shoes cost exactly $100. But that's not entirely true. If that same $100 had been invested and earned an average annual return over several decades, it could have become hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. Suddenly, those shoes didn't cost $100. They may have cost you far more in future wealth. This doesn't mean you should never enjoy life. It simply means every purchase deserves a question. Is this buying happiness? Or is it stealing freedom from my future? Wealthy people ask themselves this question constantly. Not because they're cheap. Because they understand opportunity cost. Every financial decision has another path you didn't choose. Every dollar has a job. Either it works for you, or it disappears forever. Now let's talk about debt. Debt isn't always evil. But not all debt is created equal. There are two kinds: productive debt and destructive debt. Productive debt helps you acquire appreciating assets. For example, buying a reasonably priced home. Investing in education that increases your earning potential. Starting a carefully planned business. These decisions may increase your future income. Then there's destructive debt. Credit card balances. Luxury purchases. Expensive cars you can't comfortably afford. Impulse shopping. High-interest personal loans. These don't build wealth. They quietly destroy it. Every dollar paid in unnecessary interest is a dollar that can never compound for your future. Imagine carrying a credit card charging 24% interest. Even the world's greatest investors struggle to consistently earn returns higher than that. Think about it. If your investments earn 10%, but your debt costs 24%, you're running backward. Before chasing investment returns, remove the financial anchors holding you down. One of the biggest myths in personal finance is this: I'll invest once I make more money. It sounds reasonable. But history tells a different story. Higher income rarely fixes poor financial habits. People who can't manage $50,000 often struggle with $150,000. Lifestyle expands. Expenses grow. New cars. Larger homes. Luxury vacations. More subscriptions. More monthly payments. This is called lifestyle inflation. And it's one of the quietest wealth killers in modern society. The goal isn't to look richer every year. The goal is to become financially stronger every year. Remember, freedom matters more than appearances. Let's imagine two friends, Alex and David. Both receive a promotion. An extra $1,000 every month. Alex immediately upgrades everything. A nicer apartment. A luxury SUV. Designer clothing. David makes one small decision. He continues living exactly as before. He automatically invests the additional $1,000 every month. Fast forward 20 years. Alex still needs every paycheck. David's investments may now be producing income of their own. One bought comfort. The other bought freedom. Neither decision felt dramatic. But over time, small choices become enormous differences. This is how wealth is really built. Quietly. Patiently. Consistently. Here's another lesson Buffett has demonstrated throughout his career. Ignore the noise. Every day, financial media wants your attention. Breaking news. Market crashes. Political uncertainty. Economic predictions. Experts arguing with other experts. It creates the illusion that successful investing requires constant action. But the opposite is usually true. Sometimes, doing nothing is the smartest decision. Imagine planting an apple tree. Would you dig it up every week to check the roots? Of course not. You water it. Protect it. Wait. Investing works much the same way. Constantly checking your portfolio rarely improves performance. It usually increases anxiety. The market rewards patience. Far more often than excitement. Before we move forward, I want you to imagine your future self. Final part, the blueprint that can change your future ending. Take a deep breath. We've talked about investing. We've talked about habits. We've talked about fear, patience, discipline, and the power of compound growth. Now it's time to put everything together into one simple blueprint. Not a complicated financial formula. Not a secret strategy that only Wall Street understands. Just a practical roadmap that almost anyone can follow. Imagine that today is day one. You decide your financial life is going to change. Where do you begin? Step 1. Know exactly where your money goes. For the next 30 days. Track every dollar. Not because you're trying to punish yourself. Because awareness creates control. You can't improve what you refuse to measure. Many people discover they aren't poor. They're simply leaking money through dozens of unnecessary expenses. The first victory isn't earning more. It's wasting less. Step 2. Build an emergency fund. Life is unpredictable. Cars break down. Jobs disappear. Medical emergencies happen. Without emergency savings, every unexpected expense becomes new debt. Even 3 to 6 months of essential expenses can provide incredible peace of mind. Peace of mind is one of the greatest returns any investment can give you. Step 3. Destroy high-interest debt. Think of every dollar of unnecessary interest as a hole in your financial bucket. You can keep pouring money into investments. But if that hole remains, building wealth becomes much harder. Eliminate expensive debt first. Then let your future income build your future, instead of paying for your past. Step 4. Invest automatically. Don't rely on motivation. Motivation disappears. Systems remain. Set up automatic monthly investing. Even if it's only $50 or $100. The amount matters far less than the habit. Small investments become large investments. Large investments become financial freedom. Step 5. Never stop learning. The greatest investment you will ever make is in yourself. Read books. Study business. Understand money. Improve your skills. Increase your earning power. Every new skill creates opportunities your current self cannot yet see. As Warren Buffett once said, "The more you learn, the more you earn." Now imagine yourself 20 years from today. You wake up in the morning, not worried about bills, not stressed about retirement, not trapped in a job you hate. Instead, you have choices. You work because you want to, not because you have to. That is what financial freedom truly means. Not private jets. Not luxury watches. Not impressing strangers. Freedom. Time. Peace. And the ability to spend your life with the people you love. Remember, no one becomes wealthy because of one brilliant investment. They become wealthy because they make hundreds of good decisions over many years. Success isn't built in a day. It's built daily. If you're starting at 40, you're not too late. If you're starting at 50, you're not too late. Even 60. You're not too late to improve your future. The only time it's truly too late is when you convince yourself there's no point in trying. Today, you know better. Every dollar invested, every unnecessary expense avoided, every smart decision repeated, moves you one step closer to the life you deserve. Before we finish, I want you to remember one final lesson. The market will rise. The market will fall. People will panic. Headlines will predict disaster. Trends will come and go. But discipline will always remain valuable. Patience will always remain valuable. Consistency will always remain valuable. These principles have created wealth for generations. And they will continue creating wealth for generations to come. Your future is not decided by what happened yesterday. It's decided by what you choose to do next. So start today. Start small if you must. Start slowly if you must. But start. Because years from now, your future self will look back at this moment and thank you for making the decision that changed everything. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you think differently about money, consider subscribing for more timeless investing lessons, practical financial wisdom, and strategies that can help you build lasting wealth. Remember, the journey to financial freedom doesn't begin with millions. It begins with one decision. And that decision starts today.